Hello everyone. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Purina Institute. For me, it's a true pleasure to be here today, and I'm really honored to speak among such distinguished veterinarians, professors, and scientists. Again, thank you so much for this invitation. And I would really like to thank Purina Institute for featuring this great image of a gut villi. I think it's a perfect way to kick off my discussion. As we know, healthy gut villi are crucial for absorbing nutrients like fatty acids, vitamins, amino acids, which we know directly support skin health. By supporting by supporting gut health through good nutrition, we are also laying a foundation for vibrant skin and coat, showing just how closely the gut and skin are connected. Before we get really into the main topic, I wanted to share a little bit about how I got here and why nutrition matters so much to me. As some of you may know, I grew up in a very small town in Brazil. And when I was a kid, I got my first dog. And I had this brilliant idea that I wanted to cook for him. You know, my parents, they're both agronomists, love them, but they know a lot more about plants than they know about animals. But they supported me on this idea. So I went to the store, picked out a bag of pre-cooked rice. Again, remember this is very small town, about 30 years ago. So I went home, started feeding that to my dog, and as you may imagine, pretty soon I noticed that he was losing his hair, and he was not just playing as he was before. So we had to call the only vet in town. He was happened to be specialized in dairy cows. You know, small towns in Brazil, mostly dairy cows and beef. So even though he was able to explain to me that I was getting a not complete and balanced diet to my dog. So since then, I've been having my own share of nutrition challenges, whether it was trying to balance diet for clinical trials or figuring out the right nutrients for different health conditions. So I went on to study at the Federal University of Lavras to get my veterinary degree. At the beginning, I focused a lot on imaging diagnostic, and towards the end, I ran my first nutrition clinical trial. I was looking at obese dogs and the effects of obesity in joints, and I ran them on a weight loss program. Later, I had this great opportunity to come to the University of Illinois, where I dove deep into gut health and how it affects overall health, including the skin. And recently, 2 years ago, I joined Purina, and I'm really thankful because I've been able to keep exploring how the gut health and nutrition can actually make a real difference, especially for skin health. So that's what brings us today, and I'm excited to share what I've learned about this connection throughout my journey. There are three big things that I would like to cover with you today. First, I want to talk about how and why skin is so important. We know not just as an organ, but as a key indicator for overall health. Next, we will explore some of the ways we can access skin and coat quality non-invasively. And finally, I will wrap up by sharing both some of the traditional ingredients and some nutrients and some of the newer innovative ingredients that are making the difference for skin health and the connection that they may have with gut. Let's take a closer look in the skin, since it's such a critical organ for our patients. As you all know, the skin is the primary interface between an animal and its environment. When it's healthy, it does an incredible job. It acts as a tough barrier to protect against physical and chemical trauma, microorganisms. But we all have seen in practice that when skin barrier is disrupted, things go downhill really quick. Suddenly we see irritants, pathogens, they have an easy way to get in, which can lead to dryness, inflammation, red skin, infections, or even systemic infections. So in that scenario, the skin may also lose more water, become flaky or red, and just it's not really as an effective in keeping the animals safe and comfortable. So for us veterinarians, supporting and maintaining this healthy skin It's not just about treating dermatological issues, but it's about safeguarding the animal's overall health and promoting a quality of life. And it probably won't surprise you that skin is one of the most common topics in vet clinics. Some of the main conditions that we run into are flea infestations, bacterial infections, allergic skin diseases like atopic dermatitis that was well covered today. And of course, we also see neoplasia. This really highlights how complex skin can be. Now, when we look at an animal's skin and coat, to me, it's almost like getting a sneak peek into their overall health. When we see changes in an animal coat, it's often more than just a surface problem. It can be a sign that something deeper is going on. For example, a common scenario with cats, we hear about the zombie cats. They develop greasy, matted coat and flaky skin. Sometimes this is not just about grooming. It can be linked to other things such as kidney disease, for example. So addressing these underlying metabolic disorders can actually lead to dramatic improvements to the skin and coat. And of course, nutritional deficiencies, they can show up in all sorts of ways. I've seen, in my experience, dogs and cats with dual coats, hair loss, and even skin lesions. In Brazil, where I did my vet school, we did some nonprofit work at the hospital where we would see street dogs and street cats. So we know they were missing key nutrients like zinc, vitamin A, essential fatty acids. And when we corrected their diets, their skin health bounced back, which was really nice. So, as veterinarians, it's always important to remember that skin issues can be powerful clues pointing at systemic disorders, whether it's hormonal, metabolic, or nutritional. So, paying attention to the signs can really help us catch and treat bigger health problems early. Now, talking about keeping an animal's skin and coat healthy can be really tricky because, as Anna mentioned before, it involves many, many factors. Nutrients, we know they're key, so a balanced diet makes a big difference. But the environment matters too. So changes in climate, exposure to allergens, exposure to allergens can also affect the skin. But now genetics, it also plays a big role. I'm sure many of you had that bulldog or Shar-Pei where no matter what to do, problems persist. Even though now I don't do work as a clinician, I still have a few friends that will contact me. Usually it's a bulldog asking what they can do because they're tired of trying and not getting good results. And as we've seen, more and more gut microbiome is linked with the overall health and especially skin. Dogs with atopic dermatitis often have gut dysbiosis, and we've seen that improving gut health can lead to better skin. So it's important to look at nutrition, environment, genetics, and gut health all together when we're tackling skin and coat problems. So now that I talked about why skin is so important, I would like to shift gears and share a big part of my work, both as a veterinarian and as a nutritional scientist. One thing I focus now is how we actually can assess skin in skin health in a nutritional trial. It's to me is a fascinating area, but it can get complex uh, really fast, especially because most of our studies involve healthy pets. So we're not just looking at obvious problems, we're trying to spot subtle changes and improvements that might not be immediately visible. That means that using a mix of non-invasive techniques, careful observation, and owner feedback really helps us to understand how nutrition can impact skin and coat. And here it's how it gets even more interesting. We're learning about gut health and the microbiome and how it plays a huge role in skin health. So in our research, more and more, we just don't look at skin in isolation. We also pay a close attention to what's happening in the gut. When it comes to evaluating skin and coat health, we really want to minimize any stress or discomfort to our patients. That's why we really use non-invasive techniques, and they're so valuable for our research. They allow us to gather meaningful data without causing pain or requiring sedation. And they're easy to repeat, so we can track them over time in nutritional trials. Some of these tools include hydration measurements, transepidermal water loss, sebum, and pH, microbiome sampling we can do from feces and skin, and visual and sensory scoring systems. Here's a quick example of how a sensory assessment can measure quality in nutritional studies. In this one trial, dogs were switched from a standard diet into one with added linoleic acid and zinc. The result, you can see it's really obvious. Their coat gloss improved significantly. And this was performed by a trained panel that checked not just gloss, but they also looked at softness, feel, coat feel, and scale by touch and inspection. I actually done a few of these measurements in grad school with my colleagues. It did require a lot of training to perform these measurements efficiently. Here's another study that used two other tools. Anna already talked a little bit about PVAS and CADICI. PVAS is used for itchiness and CADICI for skin lesions. And they were used to track skin health in a dog trial that were on elemental diet. As you can see on both graphs, both scores, they dropped significantly during the elimination diet trial, and they shot back up when those dogs were reintroduced to their old food, confirming those food adverse reactions. What's interesting in that study is that gut health also improved, showing that how changes in the gut can directly be associated with skin condition. And this really highlights how these skin scores are valuable in this type of microbiome nutritional intervention. Now on this slide, you will see how two key measurements were used to assess skin quality. One of them is the transepidermal water loss. The other one is skin pH. We know measuring transepidermal water loss gives us a direct look at how well the skin barrier is functioning. For example, in this study that was performed by Dr. Santoro and his colleagues, dogs with atopic dermatitis, they have shown to tend to have a higher skin water loss and a higher skin pH compared to healthy dogs. In terms of nutritional trials, we can also look at those parameters and see how they would change with a nutritional intervention. Another really valuable tool for us now is on assessing skin health is looking at the gut and skin microbiome. Here are two examples of gut microbiome. The first one, I'm just repeating one of Anna's slides. She gives a fantastic deep dive into this difference between healthy dogs and dogs with atopic dermatitis. If you look at this graph, you can see from her study, there's a clear difference in Shannon diversity between healthy dogs and those with atopic dermatitis. The big takeaway, dogs with AD, they have noticeably lower microbiome diversity compared to their healthy counterparts. Now, if you look at the other graph on the right, you will see how dysbiosis actually decreased in dogs with AD who were fed a hydrolyzed diet for 120 days. The improvement, as you can see, it's clear, and it really drives home the point that AD is a disease with a multifactorial cause and often needs a multimodal treatment as well. This kind of data really helps us to see how a richer, more diverse microbiome, it's often linked to a better skin health. And it's a powerful illustration of just how closely the gut and skin are connected and why microbiome analysis are becoming such an important part of our nutritional trials. There's actually a whole range of non-invasive techniques available out there for evaluating skin and coat condition. I just covered a few. And the extent amount of tools, it's actually exciting for both clinicians and researchers because we can get really a lot of information from it. Now we can look at the skin microbiome, gut microbiome. We can do hair microscopy to examine hair structure. I did look at hair structure in a 3D microscope when I was at the University of Illinois. It was really interesting. We can apply metagenomics, metabolomics. We can study genetic metabolic profiles. And even we can use activity monitors, recording cameras to understand behavior and overall health. We also see proteomics as another cutting edge tool that's becoming more available. And the best part, the field is always evolving, so we're constantly on the lookout for new techniques. Now let's move to the last part and most important. What are some of the traditional and novel ingredients that can support skin health and how they might be connected to gut health? Before I jump really into functional ingredients, I wanted to make sure we cover the fundamentals. As we all know, there are certain nutrients that are in the diet and they play a big role in skin and coat health. These include essential fatty acids, protein, vitamins, and minerals. On the topic of essential fatty acids, it's important to remember that both dogs and cats, they can't actually synthesize linoleic acid on their own. So they have to on it from coming from the diet. For cats, there's an extra twist. They have limited activity of the delta-6 desaturase enzyme, which means they also need arachidonic acid directly from their food. These essential fatty acids, they're all crucial because they're not just nutrients, they are actually part of the cell membrane structure. So it helps build a healthy skin and play a big role in controlling water permeability. Without enough of these fatty acids, the skin barrier can become compromised, leading to dryness, flakiness, and other skin issues. We can't forget about protein because it's a key nutrient when it comes down to supporting skin and a shiny coat. In fact, about 90% of hair is made of protein, so it's pretty remarkable. And 30% of an animal's daily protein intake actually goes toward maintaining their skin and coat. If there's a protein deficiency, we start to see the signs pretty quickly. Hair becomes dull, growth slows down, growth slows down, wound takes longer to heal, and there's a lot of risk of increasing skin infections. In terms of vitamins A and E, they're really important when it comes to protecting skin cells. Vitamin A plays a key role in cellular growth, supports the keratinization process, which is essential for a healthy skin structure. It's worth noting that cats can't produce vitamin A from beta carotene, so they really need to get it directly from their diet. Vitamin E, on the other hand, it's a powerful antioxidant and it helps protect skin by scavenging free radicals and reducing oxidative stress. When it comes down to mineral, zinc is another important nutrient as it acts a cofactor for DNA and RNA polymerases, and it's essential for fatty acid synthesis. The good news, deficiencies are pretty rare since most animals get enough from their diets. Now, B complex vitamins, they're key for energy and metabolism. But since they're water soluble animals, they need steady supply from their diet and gut microbes. Gut microbes can produce some of the B vitamins, which really shows the importance of the gut to support skin health as well. These vitamins they aren't stored in the body, so deficiencies can happen after long-term antibiotics, poor appetite, or some illnesses. For example, one example of deficiency that I've seen is biotin deficiency that can cause hair loss and crusting around face and eyes. And I've seen that in a case where a dog was eating a lot of raw egg whites, and we know that blocks the biotin absorption. When it comes down to omega-3, EPA and DHA, we have this study from Logas and colleagues that was written way back in 1994. They were looking at fish oil for itchy dogs. They gave those dogs with pruritus omega-3 capsules with EPA and DHA, and they compared them to a control group. Their results were clear. Dogs on the fish oil had less itching, better coats, and less hair loss. So at the right dose, this tells us that at the right dose, fish oil can be really effective in anti-inflammatory for dogs with skin issues. Now, beyond traditional ingredients that support skin health, there's actually a growing list of new options that are getting a lot of attention in the scientific community. These novel ingredients are being studied for their potential and skin benefits, and I would like to highlight just a few of them for you today. In this study, Rosanna Marcella, in a randomized double-blind study she conducted on dogs affected by dust mite hypersensitivity, she fed PEA orally for 7 days, and she was able to delay the recurrence of symptoms after allergen exposure, which was really interesting. There was another interesting study that you can see on this graph on the right that was led by Chiara Noli, which she was looking at PEA supplementation for dogs with moderate non-seasonal AD. Over 8 weeks, dogs from 39 clinics across Italy received this PEA, and the results were really interesting. Almost 80% of the dogs experienced less itching and fewer skin lesions with just a month, which is even more, there's even more data encouraging because they showed quality of life improving significantly. We also see that many botanicals are now being studied for their potential for skin benefits, mainly because of how they support immune system. One great example here is the curcuma longa, which you may know as curcumin from turmeric extract. There are a few studies already showing that curcumin can help improve clinical signs in dogs with AD. But we know even from other species research that curcumin benefits can go way beyond skin. It's also great for gut health. Research in humans and mouse models show that curcumin can reduce inflammation in the GI tract, promote a healthier balance of gut bacteria. They showed strengthening of the gut barrier and also improving overall digestive function. Another study showed interesting results supporting symptoms of conditions like irritable bowel syndrome in humans, which shows us that it also may protect against oxidative damage. Now, on another line of ingredients, there's a lot of excitement right now around the idea of modulating the gut microbiome as a way to support skin health. Probiotics and prebiotics are getting more and more attention in this area, with researchers looking at how these ingredients they can help balance gut bacteria and in turn improve skin condition. It's actually a promising alternative approach, and we're seeing more studies exploring how supporting the gut can lead to healthier skin to our patients. There's been a lot of research lately on how probiotics can help manage skin condition in dogs, especially on atopic dermatitis. Here I'm bringing three examples. One study looked at a probiotic strain, the Lactobacillus sakei, and they found that giving it to dogs, supplementing it to dogs with AED for 2 months significantly reduced their disease severity scores. Even after just 1 month, there was no noticeable drop in itchiness from the PVAS score. And after 2 months, they also observed improvements in the skin lesion score on the KDC. Now, another study from Rosanna Marcella, she focused on Lactobacillus rhamnosus, and she showed that using this probiotic could actually reduce dose and frequency of drugs needed to manage atopic dermatitis. And that's a big win for both pet and our owners because we know the atopic dermatitis constant medication can get pretty expensive. Oshima and colleagues in this final study that I will cover, they also found benefits with another lactobacillus strain, showing reductions in both CADESI and PVAS scores, so less itchiness and fewer skin lesions. It is believed that the mechanism of action of this lactic acid producing bacteria, like these probiotics, may help regulate the immune response by downregulating IgE production. This opens a new realm of opportunities and possibilities for managing and supporting skin conditions through gut health. And it's exciting to see how these approaches can complement traditional treatments. The main message is that there is a connection. It's evident there is a connection between gut and skin. Both skin and gut are incredibly active, complex organs. They're exposed to the outside all the time, and both host a wide variety of microbes. So not only they act as barriers, but they also they are deeply involved in immune and neuroendocrine functions. When the gut microbiome comes out of balance, what we can call as dysbiosis, it can disrupt the immune system and send signals throughout the body, and sometimes resulting in inflammation or changes in other organs, just like the skin. That's why we often see skin issues pop up when there's a trouble in the gut. The good news is nutritional interventions can help restore balance by supporting a healthy gut microbiome with the right diet. Probiotics or prebiotics can often promote improvements, not just in digestive health, but in skin condition as well. It's a great example of how interconnected these systems are and why taking this holistic approach to nutrition can make such a difference for our patients. So to wrap things up, I really wanted to emphasize that proper nutrition is absolutely key for skin health. And we know there's a growing focus in understanding and supporting the gut-skin connection. And it's worth remembering that a large portion of our veterinary visits have something to do with skin. So improving, so we see this all the time in practice. Good news, there are several ways to look at skin from a non-invasive way, making it easier to track improvements and changes without causing any discomfort to our patients. And I talked about both traditional ingredients like essential fatty acids and vitamins, and some exciting new options such as botanicals, probiotics that can support skin health. And as research continues, there's a real emphasis on comprehending and influencing this gut-skin axis. I can tell my colleagues and I, and from all of these publications we see currently, are committed to exploring new ways to support this connection, and so we can that way keep finding better solutions for our patients and promote this skin and overall health. And that was it. I would like to thank Purina Institute for the invite, and also my Nestle Purina colleagues for supporting on this presentation.